Thank you very much for watching this video. Before we begin, I wanted to include a disclaimer, as I include in my about section as well as in the description of this video. All of my readings are for entertainment purposes only. They are never, ever meant to diagnose, treat, or otherwise have any influence upon your own medical issues or situations that you may have. I always encourage everyone to make their own sound decisions, including legal matters, financial matters, and every other matter in your own life. These are for entertainment purposes only. As these are general tea leaf readings, again, it makes sense, therefore, that some of this information will resonate with you and some of it may not. You may find that some applies and some doesn't. That is completely normal and to be expected, as these are general tea leaf readings. So again, take what you will and leave what you don't, and simply enjoy your reading and hope that you find it informative and insightful. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is a general tea leaf reading for the week of September 12th, 2022. As you can tell from the date that this video has been uploaded, you can see that I uploaded it on Saturday. So again, my apologies for not uploading this video earlier this week. It has just been a very busy week here, and with schedules being the way they are, this is my very first opportunity to record this and to post this. So again, as from previous weeks, you may enjoy watching this video and looking back on your week and seeing what correlates for you and what makes sense for you. So let's look at these tea leaves and see what the universe wants us to know for this past week. As you can also see, I am using different tea leaves this week. For the previous videos, I have been using regular bagged tea. However, I found some nice loose leaf black tea, so I thought I would use that for a change. As you can see from looking into the cup, the sides are fairly clear. So I am going to focus on the one main event or situation which is being presented here, and we will see what information is being shared regarding this. As you can see here, in comparison to previous week's tea leaf readings I have posted here on my channel, that there is a fair amount of clear space between the rim and the beginning of this event or situation here. So in other words, the beginning of this week, perhaps Monday and Tuesday, I would say no later than Wednesday, were perhaps slightly slower, maybe not a lot was happening, or maybe there was a feeling of being stuck or stagnant. I know I certainly felt that way just with the way that my schedule was working out. Looking at the situation overall in comparison to the previous tea leaf reading I have posted here, there are three parts to this one main event or situation, just like what was happening in the previous couple readings I had done here. So in other words, whatever this main event or situation is regarding, there are three parts or aspects to it. Core, the center, or the middle, or the main, or the focus, whichever word or words you want to use, does seem to be a bit more up for discussion. Perhaps there was a lot of things to be discussed, talked about, finalized, being planned. Not everything was very crystal clear, you could say. However, as the week progressed, you were likely seeing everything beginning to take more shape, becoming more clear, more defined. So now looking at this in detail, what were some of the qualities and or characteristics which were present in this event or situation as this week was unfolding? So the event or situation began with unconventional stability. So as I have said in previous videos, what I mean by that is a situation that is stable but different or unique. This situation likely had 6 different parts or aspects to it, one which was very clear, very obvious, that may involve some kind of writing. I'm actually seeing 3 different indications of unconventional stability. So there may have been 2 other situations where that may have been the case, in addition to the one I just mentioned. There may also have been a Cancerian connection of someone who is that sign and or the qualities and characteristics of that sign, which are like psychic ability, home life, the house and home, family, nurturing, healing, things of that nature. You may also have been experiencing at the beginning of this week a lot of good that you were receiving. That there were also messages, news, and or information that was coming in regarding that. This all quite literally afforded or created a sense of protection and or security in some way. Altogether, these individual situations were creating a new opportunity of some kind, specifically about something that has not yet happened. So in other words, creating new ideas, new thoughts, a new way of thinking, a new opportunity that has not even happened yet. Something new that is yet to take place. This thinking of new opportunities, this new idea, created a new opportunity, a physical opportunity, something that was actually visible to us, something that we were experiencing. This was unconventional stability and included some form of documentation of some kind, including a house or property connection. This likely included a person, place, or thing with the letter C in their name, and again, some form of stability. This documentation revolves around two different parts. There were two different documents potentially being signed and or deliberated. There were two separate documents, but they're all connected as part of this one scenario, but there were two parts to it. There were two different documents. Very interestingly, this actually resulted in two, again, the number two completions, finalizations of some sort. One of them likely involves a person, place, or thing with the letter J, like John, in their name, which you can see here. That also involves a new creative project. So even though there was a completion of some kind, there was also the sense of a new beginning, a new start, a new creative project, working on new things, a new beginning, something new that is starting, something that is creative and fun and interesting. These two completions also involve three separate documents. This specifically looks to me like documentation of some kind. Another way that you could interpret this is that it is referring to education. So it's one of the two. Education and or documentation. I'm going to say that likely this letter J refers to a human being, someone who is very helpful and likely a fire sign. So fire signs, I'm not an astrologer, however, fire signs being Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius. There's also a sense or perhaps a feeling of things happening a little bit behind the scenes regarding one piece of documentation specifically. There may be some mixed feelings regarding this, so maybe a feeling at the same time of happiness and joy while also a little bit of perhaps apprehension. Around the middle of the week, I would say perhaps Wednesday, there was likely a situation where we were receiving very good things. You may have been receiving something very good regarding this document. Now, whether this is the same document that has been presented already, I don't know, but it is regarding a document of some kind. Here you can see a version of the state of Texas. So please take that as you will. However, there may have been a Texas connection of some kind in relation to this situation, to this part of this overall event or situation. This involved money. This Texas formation also appears to be a bird holding a document. So in other words, messages, news, and information regarding a document. At this time, there are multiple indications of stability, whether unconventional or otherwise, specifically regarding financial and or physical stability, wealth, material goods. You may have seen a moment ago that there was actually a tea leaf located approximately in this location. It just fell. I was going to say that there was essentially a winking face in here. So whatever these four different tea leaves or groupings were referring to was definitely brought about a feeling of happiness and maybe a bit mischievousness and confidence. I would still say that's true. However, looking at this as it is, there's also definitely a sense of receiving very good things. Very, very, very good abundance is on the way. This is regarding messages, news, and information about a document. A lot of documents this week. A document specifically. The other bird with the document. So in other words, there's one here and one here. So there's one. So one of these is certainly more significant than the other. However, there are two pieces of documentation which we were receiving news about likely at some point in the middle of this week. There are things happening behind the scenes that we are just not privy to. However, looking at this, I can say it does involve some aspect of education, wisdom, learning, expanding our knowledge, writing a book, creating a book, editing a book. There's something to do with books and our wisdom, as well as nurturing, taking care of, mothering. Those aspects are involved. Looking a little further down in the cup, we can see towards maybe Thursday or Friday or the weekend, there is a person, place, or thing with the letter L in the name, which you can see right here, small letter T, and a happy face. Overall, everything I mentioned has created a grouping here, a pattern rather, that looks like an X. So like X marks the spot. So it's really helping to create a sense or feeling of, or even getting us back on track. If you maybe have been feeling a little off track, I would take this as definitely as a sign that yes, you actually are on the right track. Everything is going well. There may also be a Scottish connection because the flag of Scotland is in the shape of a salt here. They call it a shape of a letter X. So take that as you will. That may have some significance to you. I'm mentioning that here in case it does. So I would say by Friday, we are really feeling on the mark. We're feeling good and happy and confident. There are also, again, more documents being shown in here, one specifically. This relates to an aspect of feeling very analytical, using your intellect or analytical skills. This is actually regarding two separate events consisting of two individual things. I'm going to zoom in as well as I can here, but you can see the document here I'm referring to also appears to be in the shape of a gun. So for myself, that is a symbol that's also like a sword, which refers to air. So using your intellect and analytical skills to achieve exactly what you want to achieve. It is literally pointing at two separate events here, two groupings of two. So take that as you will. So in other words, you are using your intellect and your mind and your critical thinking to overcome, or to rather address, these two separate events or two separate situations, because this is consisting of two separate parts. This likely involves a woman or a female figure, and you can see that by looking here. You can actually see an outline of a woman with the head here and the dress here. So I would say that she is the one who has the letters T and C. Now obviously we can both see that there is a grouping here. I can't see what's happening in and or around it, so I would say that whatever this is about, it is a surprise. However, I can say that it does involve documents, surprise, surprise, one specifically, and also action, movement, momentum. So now that I have addressed these two separate parts of this overall event or situation, now let's quickly take a look at this. I'm going to say quickly because you can really see it's quite short. This other scenario likely involved someone who is either Cancerian or the qualities and characteristics of the sign. However, this is likely more about someone who is Cancerian rather than the sign itself. There may have been an aspect here of you taking some time out for yourself, going inward, using your inner wisdom, your inner awareness, taking time out for yourself, nurturing, self-care. A partnership is being indicated here. It is specifically regarding one that is in the process of being formed. There is a letter J involved, so either a person, place, or thing with the letter J involved, and the letter E, which you can see here. There were likely some conversations regarding this scenario, which actually appeared to be quite fruitful. Looks like it went fairly well, with a lot of promise of new beginnings. In other words, seeds were planted, and we are beginning to see the results of it. And now, of course, we move to this large grouping where there is a very clear and large number 3. So for myself, 3 means, among many other things, a form of celebration, also partnership, a coming together. Messages, news, and information were also involved in this scenario, as well as action, celebration, dancing, happiness, joyfulness, as well as messages, news, and information. And almost like there is a promise of abundance and prosperity. It's almost like there was something that had taken place that resulted in some kind of messages or information that was being sent or that you were receiving that involved abundance that was beginning to take place. Almost like the first sign of abundance or something to that effect. Something that was small, and a small abundance, but there was good news regarding it. Looking around the sides of the cup very, very, very briefly, we can see that there are actually 4 individual groupings around the sides. So I would say that there were around 4 different events or situations happening during this week, likely around Wednesday or Thursday. They were not very significant. I'm just mentioning them in case that made sense to you. So now looking into the base, which is like Saturday, Sunday, and heading into next week. We can actually see a mermaid here. There's a ponytail here and the tail here. So there's someone who is very magical involved coming up this weekend. So likely maybe even Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and heading into next week. Someone who's very magical, very spiritual, fun-loving. They have a letter E and W associated with them, which you can see here, and they're helping to create some form of stability. And surprise, surprise, documents are also involved, at least one of them anyway. And you can see that there's also the letter M as well. So E, W, and M. Before going into any more detail, I just wanted to briefly mention the general overview of the base very quickly, because you can see, as in previous weeks as well, there is almost like a divide between tea leaves, the groupings, as well as a lot of generally a lot of clear space, which you can see here as well. This weekend, heading into next week, there may be perhaps a 60-40 divide in terms of things being calm, clear, and quiet, as well as action and momentum and things taking place. We are definitely going to be receiving a lot of good things. There are some discussions, however, there are also a lot of things clearly defined as well. So again, like I just mentioned, some discussions, but also things being up in the air, but also things being very clear and obvious to us as well. Overall, these images are showing to me that while things are going to be very clear, we just may not know all the information. So there may be things happening that are very obvious to us, but we just don't know all the details. There are likely going to be 7 different events or situations happening. These include messages, news, and information. This likely involves someone who is a family member. There's messages, news, and information coming regarding clarity of thought and resourcefulness. Surprise, surprise, more documents, abundance, and prosperity. There is a version of the number 7, which you can see here. And as I have mentioned before, I'm not a numerologist by any means. However, 7 is an incredibly spiritual, highly advanced number. So it's like the number of the mystic. So there may be some significant spiritual revelations or experiences or insights or downloads that you may be receiving this weekend and perhaps even next week. Related to this is a person, place, or thing with the letter M. Multiple opportunities, as well as messages, information, and communication. There is a helpful woman who is being shown in here. There may be a pregnancy this weekend or heading into next week. If it's not an actual pregnancy, there may be some kind of new beginning, a creative project, something new that is being worked on, or at the very least contemplated, but there is a woman associated with this. Something new that is starting. There's definitely abundance happening this weekend heading into next week, and that is really regarding a partnership that is beginning to take place. It looks very significant and widespread. So in other words, it's really involving a lot of different people and not just one thing. It's about different things. There's about 2, if not 3 different parts or aspects involved with it. So in other words, that there's like that one partnership happening, and at the same time, there's also 2 other events or situations, 2 other opportunities that are associated with that happening as a result and or with it. And again, there is another event or situation regarding abundance and prosperity. And this has also 2 different parts or aspects to it, which seems to be a theme this entire week. So I hope that you enjoyed this week's tea leaf reading, essentially looking into next week. I'm actually very excited because all of these groupings are very clear and well defined. So even though we can see some of what is happening, please also remember that there's a lot happening behind the scenes that we are just not privy to. So a lot of surprises are on the way, a lot of good surprises. So thank you so much again for watching. I do appreciate your patience and understanding again as I work out my schedule here in the background to make these videos available to you. Thank you so much again for your interest, and I hope that you have an amazing weekend. Hope that you have an amazing week and an even better next week. Take care and talk to you soon.